I had tempered expectations for Brand New Day. I figured, much like the previous entries, it may have some issues, but the characters would make up for it. I wanted it to be good, and there's a lot I like about it. Plenty of its emotional beats hit me, but the issues were clear. The more I thought about them, the more I came back to the same conclusion. Brand New Day is a bad movie, especially on a moral level. Yes, I think it and whatever it is trying to say is fundamentally wrong. I'll be going over that alongside its jumbled together plot, character work, and even world building, which took a big hit. At the start of the movie, we see Peter again. He reads the full letter this time, and we get a recap on what's happened. And he takes off his mask. Yeah. The whole point of the last movie was to tell you how bad an idea that can be. I don't care if he's high up, anyone could be watching. He usually does have it on to the movie's credit, but it's bad that it happens even once, let alone multiple times. A few minutes in and they've already hurt Peter and the impact of the last movie. I'd understand if it was an emergency or something. Then a montage of him being alone and fighting crime for 5 years plays. Crime is down 40%, apparently mainly due to him. It's like no one else in the MCU exists because it's his movie and it's not time for their cameo yet. The Hand was taken down by Spider-Man, a news reporter says. How? They were already defeated in Defenders. This was an ancient order that somehow returned and was immediately dismantled again by Spider-Man, all off-screen. Did they just want ninjas to fight? What does Daredevil or Iron Fist have to say about this? They shouldn't be here. This isn't the end of them though, it will get worse later. Don't worry. They also don't bring up how Fisk took over the city as mayor for a year and put the whole of Manhattan on lockdown. In Born Again, he also went psycho and started killing civilians for no reason. No thoughts on that? Okay. They don't make good on previous setups either. Scorpion is just here and is in the movie for 5 seconds. He doesn't actually do anything after he gets bonked by a piano. We also get to see his new life, the one that's independent and rough. It doesn't really mean anything substantial though. Peter made his own Jarvis without half the personality or relationship to him that even Karen had in Homecoming. Eve, as he calls it, can pretty much do everything alongside his 3D printer. I understand this problem. Peter is meant to be a super genius, but simultaneously an underdog and scrappy. It's a difficult balance, but I don't think they did anything meaningful with all the tech he has. It's mostly stuff Peter could have done on his own, but also a few things that are insanely important. One of those being helping with the facial tracking surveillance. He can just do that, apparently. Plenty of it makes you wonder things like, where does he work? That seems like a big thing to miss out on. He can somehow afford a very big apartment room and other necessities. They mention it was a storage room, but that doesn't change anything. It's still real estate. It's a big missed opportunity that what could have been new relationships formed from work or when he went to school never materialized. Instead, they have him stuck on Ned and MJ. That's understandable he still feels that way, but he knows why he had to do it. It would be selfish to bring them into his dangerous world again. Especially if he does it as Spider-Man, which is exactly what he does. The whole movie is a roundabout to try and get him back to where he was in the Home trilogy instead of doing its own thing. It relies heavily on what was earned by previous titles. Then the movie really starts with a hijacked tank going through the streets. This is where the movie trips a little, and then a lot, and then falls off a cliff into a pit of acid. The way we learn about the villain almost makes you forget what she was doing here exactly, but it's very important. Looking at it through the lens of the full context, it falls apart, which of course is bad. Good movies get better the more you watch them. Jean is a bad person here, and she is consistently characterized as someone who is evil. She hurts others unnecessarily and takes pleasure from seeing their suffering. Unfortunately, she's also dumb because her plan is nonsensical, and not what someone in her situation would do. The worst part is, the movie thinks she isn't bad and simply misguided. It messes up severely by having Spider-Man of all people explicitly state that she is not a killer. It is portrayed as a win that she escapes without facing any consequences for her actions. it pretends she was only focused on her goal without mentioning the reality of the situation. That is, she constantly goes out of her way to hurt people. There are many times she smiles while she does it too. This is the movie's biggest failure, thinking she is so easily redeemable without recognizing what she truly did with a clear body and mind. Let me run down the what and why. Jean's only goal is to find her sister, who she knows was taken by the Department of Damage Control. She still thinks she's alive and wants to find out where she is, information on where she is, or VMAX, which is believed to be the facility holding her. Jean's also aware that Director Metzger is a key player in this. She has the ability to possess a person and within 33 feet can leapfrog onto another. Chaining this is seemingly infinite and can be very quick. It seems the only restriction is that she must see the person she's going into. The people taken over will not remember what happened while she's puppeteering their body for her goals. On top of all of that, Jean learns an awful lot about the person she inhabits. Seemingly whatever information she wants from that person she can have. It even lets her learn skills quickly like operating a tank and a helicopter. This is unbelievably useful for her goals. Now looking at this chase with what we know about her, what the hell is she doing? She wants to get into the base so she can free Scorpion, so later she can take him over and try attacking another random damage control base that might help her find her sister. Okay, why did she mind hop her way from a DODC warehouse, take over an innocent janitor, and have her pilot the tank? I assume she mind flumed someone else who knew how to drive it previously. For whatever reason, she didn't use that person. Why does she need the tank? Why not do what she always does, which is chain jumps until she can get into the facility? Remember, she can be wherever she wants. The jumps just have to be within 33 feet. There's no way she can just get someone chilling outside, going to work, or literally any of the many ways to possibly do this. That way is not only easier, smarter, but also the most natural way this person would think of doing it. It would be in character. Instead, she did all this work to commandeer a tank truck thing and drive it all the way there. Along the way, she drives like a maniac, of course, endangering the old lady, but also countless civilians and police who she happily rams into. The worst part is, she makes the old lady shoot the turret. This no doubt injured and killed even more people. There was no need for this in the first place if she just used her powers like she normally does. Already, the kill count must be in the double digits. If it hasn't reached that, then it's not for lack of trying. The writers wanted crazy set pieces and more conflict, but they couldn't figure out how to do that without having it that Jean is simply just trying to save her sister. This isn't a natural process of trying to save her sister. This it's a bunch of zigzagging, and the only thing that would make it make sense is from looking at it from a writer's point of view. They just want entertaining stuff. Something this movie is too scared to address in any meaningful way is just how terrible her powers are. Taking over someone's autonomy, even for a mundane task, is extremely invasive and traumatizing. Imagine having your ability to be you and choose taken from you. Then you find out someone was doing who knows what with you in that brief time you don't remember. Let's apply this to the old janitor lady who had nothing to do with kidnapping Sarah. Imagine how she feels after being told what happened. Even if much later she finds out it was really mind control, she's gonna think it was herself who murdered so many, and after learning about Jean, it'll still weigh on her. Some people might still associate that event with the granny because that's who did it in their eyes, not some magical wizard elsewhere. Not once does Jean consider what she's doing to these people and how she's putting them in harm's way. She almost murders a bus full of tourists at one point too. This all culminates at the damage control building she was trying to reach. Again, she could have just mind hopped there, but no, she drives into the wall at full force. If it wasn't for Peter, the guards would be dead. To make matters worse, for no real reason other than she's trying to keep up her kill streak, we learn there's a bomb in the tank. Why? She possessed her way to a bomb, learned how to use it, and had it put into the tank and activated? This isn't a minor thing. What was the point of doing that other than more destruction? She even taunts Spidey that he forgot to check what was in the tank, knowing innocent people would get hurt. This is the first time out of many where she smirks while doing this stuff. It's not like she needed a distraction or a way to escape. How does this help in learning where her sister went? She really wants to free Gargan, but again, that's unnecessary, and even then, the way she does it is insane. When Spider-Man opens the door, we learn even more about who Jean Grey is. Confused at seeing an old woman, he asks her to get out of the vehicle. Jean decides to make a show out of it and possesses the guard next to him, giving away the facade. It would have been much easier if she just pretended to be the old lady, or at least waited for him to turn around before doing that. She actively taunts him as she goes to accomplish her mission. I want to remind you that the mission is freeing Scorpion, which she does by just telling the pilot to go somewhere else. She could have done that by just impersonating the people who work there instead of murdering her way there. That is essentially what she did, except she decided to add a lot of murdering beforehand. It's lucky the whole facility didn't go on lockdown and Scorpion wasn't moved. And again, not to lose track, she's looking for her sister. How does this help? She knows about Metzger. Why not find him very easily like she does Spider-Man later? Why free Scorpion only to take him over another time? Why not take him over right now? Not that she even needs to do that. Why was he the target if she wanted to possess someone powerful? He's in a super prison. Why not take over the Thunderbolts or someone else who's way more accessible? She in no way needs to be Scorpion for her plan. Just chain your way to the DODC officials and, I don't know, email Metzger. There's a million different options here. All she has to do is take him over for a second and she'll know everything she wants. More questionable decisions here include not immediately trying to possess Spider-Man. Why would she not want to do that? She craves power and it would eliminate a threat. It doesn't happen there because the writers need it to be a quiet scene between the two when it happens, and that can't happen with everyone else around. This movie hinges on the fact that Jean does all this stuff but simultaneously wants us to think she's a worthwhile person deep down. Spider-Man explicitly says he and Frank were wrong about her and they need to fix it. He even says she's not a killer. That's just ridiculous. He shouldn't have to apologize for that when she didn't even try to reason with anyone. Him learning about what happened and why she's doing this doesn't change a thing. She's a mass murderer who intentionally kills and takes pleasure from it, as if she shouldn't be in prison for what she's done. It never addresses why she never just explained what she actually wants. Instead of sadistically torturing Peter, this could have ended with one conversation. She criticizes him for working with the DODC because they want to stop anyone who's different and special, instead of saying what her character would actually say, which is, "They kidnapped my sister." The movie arbitrarily and conveniently has her not mention her main motivations throughout. She only manages to say Sarah right before getting knocked out. This version of Peter has been a hero for a decade now. It's difficult to believe he's in it for the wrong reason. He saved the universe for God's sake. Same with Banner, but she just hates them for no reason. In her first scene, she's bloodthirsty and dumb. As I was watching the movie, I assumed they made it so she was actually a villain, or at least someone tortured and disturbed. But no, she's actually fine. Her mom kicked her and her sister out. One day while they were out possessing people without their consent, she got captured. Jean didn't get captured with her for some reason, even though they must have been watching them. None of this makes sense. It's not good that from what I've seen of them, I think they should be in prison. She even sexually assaults people just to torment them. We know she'll have a role in other movies. I sincerely doubt they can handle what she's done in this movie or her overpowered abilities. Back at the chase, we meet the Punisher, and he's perfectly in character. Nope, he isn't. That's not surprising. The very first thing we see him do is shoot a grenade at Spider-Man. Not to sound like a broken record, but why? He's here to stop the truck, I assume. He doesn't want it to hurt more innocent people, and he's well aware of the fact that Spider-Man here is the best way to do that. So what if he knows he has a spider sense? It doesn't matter in the least. We see him actually land a direct hit on Peter. Also, what if you caught him off guard? He regularly gets hit, he isn't completely untouchable. Frank would know this, and worse is the shrapnel. What if he wasn't fast enough to dodge all those tiny little bits and pieces? That definitely could have hurt people on the ground too. It's completely out of both of their control. What does that accomplish? Frank, at least when we met him in Daredevil Season 2, was not a stupid goober. He was insanely practical. All this does is slow down stopping the truck. After he ran over Spider-Man, he wastes time by arguing and even shoots him point blank. Where's that spider sense again, Peter? Seriously, you just watch that happen? Also, in this movie, Frank just takes orders from other people regardless of what he actually thinks. Pete tells him to go home and we don't see him again. I guess he did actually leave instead of finding a way to get back into the action. He's chasing the tank because he believes it's dangerous. Why would he just give up? He literally, just a few seconds ago, didn't think Spider-Man was enough. Another problem I have with the script is the Punisher should not just be out and about casually. Many people don't recognize him immediately, which is very unlikely. This is a constant every time we see him, but the very worst is the ending. In no way in a million years would he be allowed to walk into a hospital. We see him not only somehow get to Peter, but also take him all the way to a hospital and wait for him. He's in the whole skull getup and everything. He's got his gear too. Did they watch Daredevil? His introduction is him shooting up a hospital to get a target. He would not be allowed to stay. Even if he is saving Spider-Man, the police would be after him. He can't just be allowed in public. How did you forget that movie? The trial of Frank Castle was insanely public and viral. Everyone would know it and be aware that he admitted to murdering hundreds of people. More than that, he doubled down and exclaimed to everyone how much he loved killing them, and he'd do it all over again. I don't believe for a second MJ of all people, who is all about society and conspiracies, doesn't know about Castle. Homecoming not only did a good job of accounting for the previous works in the MCU, but it also used and added to it. Spider-Man also does a lot of waiting during the chase. It's like he's on pause so other beats can happen, like the man trying to help him drive closer to the tank or wasting his time with Frank. He should be constantly moving. I don't think how he removed Frank from the fight was very responsible either. He shoots him out, which could of course injure him with all that glass going his way and the sudden stop. But the biggest problem I have is the van. He just lets it roll out of control as if that's not the very thing he's here to prevent. Again with the waiting. After he gets shot, he lands on the truck. He doesn't use this as an opportunity to stop it or rip the door open easily like he does later. Instead, he wastes time to take an ally out of the fight. Later, he lands in front of it and for some reason slides under it and gets dragged for a bit. Why? Because it's a reference, that's all. Guys, you know he doesn't actually like being dragged, right? After the battle, when he's speaking to DeWolf, for some reason he's very hesitant to tell her what he knows. It's crystal clear that someone is taking over these people, but he just says he doesn't know. Peter objectively sees something hit these people, and the previous host is left confused. They aren't acting like he would expect, and the cherry on top is whoever this is tries to go inside his mind. There is no confusing that with anything else. It says, "You pushed me out." Interesting. What else could that mean? He even asks her if that's what happened. Peter grew up in the world of the MCU. He knows all about this sort of stuff and how it's not only possible, but likely. He's meant to be smart, but doesn't even mention it just in case. Going forward, Peter should be paranoid that anyone he talks to could be this entity. That doesn't happen, he pretty much forgets that this is a possibility and trusts everyone. We aren't even out of the first act yet, and this movie is in shambles. It fails its characters to lift up the plot, all in the name of shallow action, and it just gets worse. Let's compare Jean to Vulture from Homecoming. He is an excellent villain for a multitude of reasons. The most obvious one is that the movie isn't under the delusion that he's actually a decent person inside and was the real victim. Peter doesn't tell him he's amazing and special. He criticizes him for throwing such a great life away and for endangering others for profit. Sure, Peter saves him in the end and tries to reach him, but he doesn't help him avoid prison or face the consequences he earned. Further, Vulture is a way better person than Jean. He goes out of his way not to kill and cause mass destruction. He certainly doesn't take pleasure in it. The one guy he kills, Shocker, was threatening his family and the life he fought so hard to protect. Toombs didn't even intend to kill him, he just wanted to threaten him. Of course, that doesn't change anything, he's still a terrible person, but he doesn't get off on it. With those weapons, he could be as destructive as Jean, but doesn't. He even tries reasoning with Peter and gives him many outs when he could have killed him. Why? Not because the plot needed Peter to live and fight, but because of his character. He was written well. I'm sure there were mandates for action scenes, but they never compromise on the characters to do so. He's all about family, and if his daughter cares about Peter Parker, he'll try and work it out. He again doesn't want to kill as a first resort. The movie understands he's a villain, which I must keep emphasizing. Aaron rats him out because he doesn't want his own family to be hurt by what's being sold. It's considered a net good that he's locked up by the end, regardless of the fact that Liz will lose her father. If we look at the whole movie after thoroughly learning about him, all the scenes and what he is trying to do and why always makes sense. That doesn't apply to Jean whatsoever. What she can do, what she wants to do, is incongruent with what we see take place. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a bad movie, but did it try to teach an immoral lesson about letting a monster never face consequences? I don't know. I'm not planning on rewatching it. This movie is on a new level of bad, despite whatever good moments are in it. Knowing what I know about the meta, Jean will return as a hero somehow, and I know damn well she will be treated as such. She won't feel guilt for her rampage, and redemption won't come in any meaningful way.